Hi, Matt. How are you? I am so happy that I get to see you.
You were such a pivotal moment in the documentary, as well as you were such a pivotal moment in our lives. And yeah, and thank you, obviously, to see that played out and the hope that you brought us and is what you bring to other families as well. Um, how did that make you feel? Like, what was your reaction to that, seeing it played out like that?
So, I'm really grateful to be in a place um, that people trust me and people find hope in what I have to offer. I mean, I think I'm really blessed. I think God put me here for a reason and gave me certain skills, and I need to use them. I mean, I feel like this is my calling in life. The other flip side of that, though, is how seriously I take the responsibility of that. You know what I'm saying? It's this two-edged sword. As much of life is, there's always two flip sides to everything. It's how to be honest and sensitive at the same time. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You bring hope to people. I never want to give people false hope. So I'm very careful. It may not appear to you that I'm being careful. It may appear to you that I'm just having a great time, which I am. But
You and I battled it out nicely at the
we
very
did. There was a moment that you and I had that was so eye-opening to me that I'll share. You can edit it out if you don't want.
beginning.
But I was talking about how Maggie needed a better supported chair. And the next time I came back, I expected that she'd have a better supported chair, and she didn't. And I was like, hey guys, we were talking about this support for her eye gaze, and you just welled up and said, this is like the last normal thing she has is a chair. And giving it up is really hard. And that took my breath away. I mean, totally, like, just took my breath away. And I remember saying, I had never realized how that could be taken, how what I was saying could be taken by a parent. That was important for me. I mean, really important that you felt comfortable enough to say that to me. But I didn't take it and go, oh man, this mom is like really overreacting to this chair business. Everything has different significance when you have a child with a disability. Little things become big things. Sometimes the big things are little things.
Mm-hmm.
But these things, and what you have to be aware of is when you're working with families is it's easy for me to give hope because I believe so much in the girls. I don't have to walk in and say, okay, let's do our hope speech here. That's what I am about. That's the easy part for me because I am so hopeful and so confident in their abilities and I know they can learn. To see it on the screen was like, oh gosh, I really am doing what I'm really trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And not to blow my own horn, but it's really coming across to people because it came across on the screen.
Right.
So I take that with a great deal of humbleness and gratitude, but also it's like, yes, I want people to feel that. I want that to come across when I'm working with people, that there is a lot to be hopeful for. But at the same time, that talk you had with me about the chair reminded me that it's not just about that. It's also about what different things mean in the life of a parent and how we really are a team. You are Maggie's family. I am not. We're close.
Right.
We can talk about anything, but I am not her family. And so I think that that's an important thing for professionals. If we just step outside of ourselves and say, we may think we know a lot when we just don't know it all.
You get the tip of the iceberg, even if it's a lot of information.
You're still getting, well, and that's what the movie does. It reveals the rest of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what the movie does.
Do you think that from what you've seen, and you work with a lot of families, that COVID has shown a light on the disparity between like kids in a typical classroom and kids that need extra services,
I think
special
COVID,
education?
I think COVID has drawn back the curtain on a lot of disparities.
Mm-hmm.
We could go down the line on disparities. But I think what's happened in special education, I'm facing this in a district that we're trying to get into to do training. We have a grant where we can go in and do training, and they're kind of turning their back on us saying, ah, we don't need training. They don't allow us. They won't allow the teacher. I was going to show the teacher during remotes how to remote into the device. They don't allow it.
Why is that?
I don't know. I pointed out to them, do you let your deaf children have a signing interpreter during remotes? Oh, of course. I said, then why are you discriminating against nonverbal children? This is discrimination.
Yeah.
And so you bump up against those things and you say, why wouldn't a child whose primary goal is to learn to communicate? Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Anybody who's nonverbal, if your primary goal isn't that they learn to communicate, not wipe down a table, not put on their socks. Okay. Let's get clear. They've got to learn to communicate. And yet you're not going to allow that within a remote. I had a teacher, I'm consulting to a school, and I had a teacher actually say in an IEP meeting, you cannot model in my classroom. It's going to interrupt my instruction. And so now we've got this behavioral model. And I said, okay, so now how do you do that remotely? You're going to feed them M&Ms through the screen? You're going to let them go take a 5-minute break and think they're going to come back? You haven't worked on engagement, intrinsically them wanting to be in a relationship with you, remote's going to fail. And it's failed for our special ed kids. I think our kids with special needs, especially our complex kids, because they're not doing that great a job in the schools to begin with. I think that one of the things that we need to learn better, and I spend a lot of time thinking about this, is the emotional impact Rhett certainly has on a family. You showed that. But the emotional impact it has on the girl or the boy. Mm-hmm. We have never been good in this field of acknowledging that it stinks to have a disability, especially when you're cognitively capable of understanding that you have a disability. Some kids don't get that they have a disability. That cognitive piece is different for them, and they're pretty happy-go-lucky. But I do think that the difference between individuals with Rett, and that's the two-edged sword. The great news is they're cognitively in there. The bad news is they're cognitively in there.
I'm so glad you said that, because we've had a lot of more moments during COVID, specifically with Maggie, where she's just been very upset. And we figured it out. She helped us figure it out by communicating to us that she was upset because it's just harder for her.
When we start to reframe what we're seeing at a deeper level, they actually make more progress. They just do. Yeah, they do. And that's the goal.
That is the
fuller lives. Yeah.
Susan, you are amazing.
Well, thank you so much for having me do this, because it's my favorite topic, and they're my favorite kiddos to work with and adults to work with. And there's just a special place in my heart for anybody with Rett syndrome and any family with a kiddo with Rett syndrome. It's just it's been a gift to me. And it'll be my life's work. It just will. Yeah.
Well, Susan, you are a gift to us. We have been blessed to be able to have you in our lives, and I truly thank you. You saw it in the film. I think we've told you before, but
thank you so much.
You were a game changer for us, and which is why we scream it from the mountaintops, because
you're so sweet.
I want everybody to have the access that we have had. And, I want people to understand what that means, and people like you, and you specifically, like what you do, and until you come into this world, you don't realize how much, so much is needed. And you fulfill a facet that is so important, and it's that communication, and it really is a game changer. So you are a blessing.
Thank you.
I don't have to turn this off.
Yeah, I think there's a button at the top. There you go. I'm
No,
out.
I have to edit this part out.